Hey, everyone. What if I told you there's an ancient text out there that's not about blind faith at all, but is actually a highly illogical toolkit for investigating the very nature of reality itself? Today, we're diving into the Brahma Sutras, a system designed to dismantle one single fundamental mistake that it claims is the root of all our suffering. So, before we can even talk about the solution, we really have to get a handle on the problem they're trying to solve. And the Brahma Sutras, they start by tackling a really deep, universal human question. Just think about that for a second. Not hundreds of different problems, but one single core error. This is the central idea of Vedanta philosophy. It suggests that all our misery, what's called samsara, that endless cycle of struggle and unhappiness, it all comes from one profound misunderstanding of who we really are. And this mistake has a name. It's called adhyasa, and that basically means a superimposition error. The classic example to get your head around this is perfect. Imagine walking into a dark room and you see a coiled snake. Your heart starts pounding, you're terrified. But then someone flips on the light and it's just a piece of rope. Now your fear, that was 100% real. But the snake, the cause of the fear, was not. Vedanta says this is exactly what we're doing all the time. We superimpose a false reality onto the real one, and that's the source of all our anxiety and pain. Okay, so if the problem is basically a logical error, a mistake in our perception, then it stands to reason you need a logical toolkit to fix it. And that, right there, is the whole purpose of the Brahma Sutras. And what's in this toolkit? Get this, it's made up of 555 sutras, or aphorisms. But these aren't just, nice quotes you'd put on a poster. They are razor-sharp, precisely engineered statements designed to systematically take apart that error of adhyasa, piece by logical piece. The word sutra literally means thread, but you should think of these as coded threads of pure logic. They are incredibly dense. In fact, one teacher famously called each sutra an atom bomb to expand, a tiny compact statement that when you unpack it, reveals this massive explosion of reasoning. It's why the Brahma Sutras are known as a Nyaya Prastanam, which is a formal treatise based entirely on logic. Now, just for a little context, so you know where this fits in, Indian philosophy is generally split into two big camps. You've got the Gnostica schools, which don't accept the ancient texts called the Vedas as a source of truth, and then you have the Astika schools, which do. The Brahma Sutras and the whole Vedanta school are planted firmly in that Astika tradition. They use this intense logic to explore and validate the insights found in the Vedas. All right, so we've got the problem and we've got the toolkit, but how does this thing actually work in practice? Well, we can see it in action when we look at one of the biggest debates it tackles. I mean, this is one of the big ones, right? The ultimate question. Did the universe just pop out of nowhere from dead matter, or did it come from something else? The sutras use this very question to show off their method of logical investigation. So here we have the two major opposing views on this. On one side, you've got the Sankhya school. They argue the universe comes from achetana, basically non-conscious inert matter, just stuff. But on the other side, Vedanta argues the source has to be chetana, a fundamental, intelligent consciousness. So the debate really boils down to this. Is the source of everything alive and aware, or is it just lifeless stuff? And here's where you see the logic in action. This is the method of Purvapaksha, which means refuting your opponent's view. The argument is beautifully simple. Look at the universe. It shows incredible order, complexity, design. The very act of creating something implies some kind of intention, a desire, or a visualization. A rock, which is inert matter, can't desire or visualize anything. So the argument goes, the source of this incredibly complex universe has to be conscious. It's a purely logical move to dismantle the other theory. Okay, so debating the origin of the universe is fascinating, but you might be asking, what does this have to do with my own personal suffering? Well, this is where we tie it all back together. This is the whole point. And here it is, the entire path laid out. Step 1 is the problem, adhyasa, that mistaken identity. We think we're the snake, limited and terrified. Step 2 is the method to fix it, Vedanta Vichara, a deep, logical inquiry, using the sutras as our guide to see things clearly. That investigation leads us to step 3, the knowledge, Atmanyanam, which is the direct realization of our true self, seeing that we were the rope all along. And the final result of that knowledge? Step 4, moksha, total liberation from the fear and suffering that was built on a simple mistake. And that's the beautiful endgame. When the light of true knowledge comes on, the thing we superimposed, that terrifying snake, It just vanishes. Why? Because it was never really there to begin with. All that's left is the rope, the underlying reality. The suffering was real, no doubt about it, but its foundation was an illusion. And by correcting that intellectual mistake with clear, sharp reason, the emotional suffering just dissolves right along with it. So the Brahma Sutras really leave us with this incredibly powerful question. And it's not just some abstract philosophical puzzle. It's deeply personal. The entire system is designed to make us turn our attention inward and ask, if this whole experience of life and suffering is really just a case of mistaken identity, what is it that I'm constantly mistaking myself for? And what is the truth that's left when that mistake is finally corrected?